From the snow-capped mountains of the west to the cypress swamps of the south and everywhere in between. This is the Southern Flight Podcast. I'm your host, Robbie Nelson. You are listening to the Southern Flight Podcast, live from the Nelson Sign Shop studio. Today is a bonus episode. I've got something that's been weighing on my mind here for quite a while. The more I read about all the states, provinces of Canada, and beyond limiting waterfowl hunters, the lack of public land, or quality public land especially, available for waterfowl hunters, the question starts coming to mind. Is freelancing for waterfowl going to be a thing of the past? Part of me feels like that it will. I hate to even say that, but it's I feel like there's always going to be people that are going to have the resources and the time to be able to go and do what needs to be done. In saying that, I think that it is becoming more and more problematic for your everyday guy, weekend warrior, what have you, to be able to find a quality place to hunt and have a quality experience without being, without spending multiple paychecks to be able to do that. So whose problem is that? How did we get there? Is greed causing some of this? Is urban sprawl causing this? Is change of farming practices causing this? Is global warming causing this? The list goes on and on and on. And albeit I'm not an expert on any of it, my opinion is there's probably a combination of a lot of what I just mentioned, probably even other things that I didn't mention. We live in a country that capitalism is king, and I'm no different, right? I'm sitting in my sign shop. That's the only reason why I can afford to do a podcast like this and have fun, is because I work for myself and am able to make money, and America is a great place to do that. So I'll dive right into outfitters. It's very split when it comes to outfitters. I was reading on a Facebook group that I'm a member of a major waterfowl podcast that I listen to a lot, and a guy posted on there and was basically blaming the outfitter for ruining waterfowl hunting, for lack of better terms, leasing up hundreds of thousands of acres and making the common man not be able to be able to afford the opportunity to go have a quality hunt without paying all this kind of money to go do that. So where do I stand on that? What do I think? Well, as an entrepreneur, it would be pot calling the kettle black if I said I didn't think that was or should be allowed, right? I mean, the guy's an outfitter. He's found a way to make a living in a beautiful setting, making money, doing what he loves to do. So that side of me, absolutely go for it, brother. If you took the risk and you did it, good for you. I use outfitters. I do a lot of freelancing too. So I do both. So I can kind of speak on both sides of this coin. You have guys that kind of exclusively use outfitters, and you have guys that hate an outfitter, think they should be gone off the face of this earth, and that waterfowl shouldn't be, you ought to not be able to use a natural resource to make money by killing them. Yeah, I get that, but I think history has shown us that unless something has a monetary value, then it will not be saved. Africa is a prime example. Look at a lot of the safari animals down there, a lot of the wild game, the areas that don't allow hunting. Most of the animals are gone. Poachers come in. There's no monetary value to keeping those animals protected because they can't legally sell the hunts. So the poachers come in, wipe out the animals, and there goes the population of the animal. So I think that waterfowl having a monetary value on them, as wrong as that may sound up front, ultimately will save them. There's a lot of other things that contribute to the downfall of waterfowl. So by putting a monetary value on an animal, let's just call it ducks and geese, there's more reason to try to help protect them, try to help protect their breeding grounds, try to help protect their migration corridors, try to help protect their wintering grounds. More reason for people to try to build these corn ponds. I know a lot of people hate that term, but with the waterfowl habitat from top to the bottom of the flyway, every year becoming less and less and less. If you don't have guys that are willing to take money out of their back pocket and put tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars into creating good waterfowl habitat, then where are those waterfowl going to go? I mean, you see the guys in Louisiana, whatever it is, the Waterfowl Federation. I know I've just botched that, but whatever that group is down there that absolutely despises flooded corn and all that. I don't have a bone to pick with those guys. I don't live over there. I do live in the South, and our duck hunting's way worse in Georgia than it ever will be in Louisiana, so it's a moot point to me. I have to travel pretty much no matter what. So, yeah, I think sometimes those guys are a little spoiled over there. And I also, for the record, do not think that a flooded cornfield in Missouri or wherever you have it, Iowa, Illinois, it doesn't matter, pick a town, it's not holding the migration up on the grand scheme of things. Sure, will it hold that population of birds that's right there a little longer? Yes, and across the landscape, that is going to add up, and more birds may stay in an area longer. If you get the weather and the birds can't get to the food, guess what? They're leaving. So I think that a lot of that can just go back to when you have a good winter, you'll have more birds in the South. There's also the habitat in the South has changed, especially in Louisiana. But anyway, I'm getting off topic there. So going back to what do I think about the outfitter situation? I think an outfitter ought to be able to exist. 100% they should. Like I said, I still use them. One of my best friends I hunt with now, he was a waterfowl outfitter. He is no longer, but he was at the time I met him, and that's how I met him. I paid to go hunting with him. I'll pick a spot on a map sometimes if I don't have the right equipment, or if it's a particular bird that I'm after and I've got 3 or 4 days to try to get it done. Sometimes it makes financial sense to pay an outfitter $1,500, $2,000, $2,500, whatever the case may be, dollars to go get that bird or have that experience, because I don't have the time. 10 days, 2 weeks, I might not have the right boat. I might not have the right equipment. I might not have the right access, and that's some of what we're going to talk about. Might not have the right access to go get these birds. So I think that outfitter can help give guys an experience that they may otherwise never be able to experience. So pretty clear right there, I'm in favor of outfitters. However, what I don't like, let's take Canada, for example. Saskatchewan just passed a law a couple weeks ago stating that non-resident, basically freelancers, or not non-resident, if you're a U.S. citizen, non-Canadian citizen, can only come up there and hunt for a total of 10 days. 2 5-day licenses in the fall. Actually, it's 15, but in the fall, 2 5-day licenses, so 10 days. And in the spring, if you wanted to go snow goose hunting up there, a 5-day license in the spring. For my purposes, I'm calling it 10 days because I'd never go up there in the spring to chase snow geese anyway. So the fall is when Saskatchewan is going to get inundated with non-resident hunters. On the surface, it's like, well, what's wrong with that? Because, I mean, you still get to go. You still get to hunt 10 days. That's true. And for me, honestly, it's really not going to affect me right now because as a guy that works down here, I can't go for longer than that anyway. I mean, I have 2 businesses, a family, a young little girl. So I'm not one of the guys that can go stay a month if I wanted to. So on the surface, it's like, okay, so why do you have a problem with it? Well, my problem with it is if you read the article that Saskatchewan, and it was very short, that Saskatchewan put out announcing that they were going to take this to 2 5-day licenses. One of the main reasons was because the Outfitters Association up there was pushing for it. They claim it's from illegal guiding. Outfitters up there have to buy a guiding license and pay a lot of money for it, pay a lot of money for their areas and pay taxes and all that kind of stuff. So they don't want an American guy coming up there, setting up shop for a month or 2 months or however long, or even a week rather, and selling hunts, like getting money under the table. And that I can agree with. If they've got to pay the money and they've got to pay the taxes to be able to guide and do that, so be it. But limiting, I think they're kind of using that as a, I don't know how much of that's actually going on. I'm sure there's some of it, but what I think more so it is they don't want the freelance competition. And if it were Canadian outfitters, if it was like solely Canadian outfitters, Canadian-owned outfitters, let me correct myself, I'd have even less problem with it because it's their country. But a big majority of these waterfowl outfitters in Canada are American-owned. You can look at them. Look them up. I mean, most of the ones you see advertised are guys that live in the States. A lot of them guide in the States, have an outfitter in the States. And they'll go up there and outfit in September, October before the season's open down here. And then they're literally leaving up there and coming down here and hunting down here all the way through January, some of them through March. Some of them go back up and do the snow geese up there again in April. So should they be allowed to do that? Sure. Why not? Should they limit other American freelance hunters from coming up there and being able to hunt and using the guys that they're trying to stop, quote unquote, illegal guiding? I don't think so. I kind of take a little bit of heartache with that when most of the guys that are happy about this and pushing for this are Americans. So you're an American going to a foreign country and then limiting American hunters to come up there and hunt unless they're coming to hunt with you and paying you money. They also say, well, it's to save the resource too. We're not overpressuring the resource. Guys, let me just tell you something. Look at most of these outfitters up there. They're running multiple trips a day. Most of them are 6 to 10 guys plus going out every day in multiple groups. So multiply that out, how many people a day. Some outfitters are bigger than others, some are smaller than others. And you're telling me that if a guy wanted to come up and stay 2 weeks, or let's say he had a great year at work or he owns his own business and he can go up and hunt for 3 weeks and he's got a couple of his buddies that fly in and hunt with him, no money's being changed hands at this point, that you're telling me that those guys are hurting the resource more than an outfitter that's commercially hunting these birds, running multiple groups a day? Most of these guys are hunting morning and afternoon. They have guys that are scouting for them all day long while the hunters are out in the morning. There's guys scouting for an evening hunt. They're constantly scouts. So a lot of them will do geese in the morning, ducks in the afternoon, or vice versa, depending on what the snows are doing. Or now that you can hunt geese later, dark geese later in the afternoon, they may be doing a lot more of that in the afternoon. But they're hunting twice a day. Most freelancers, they can't hunt twice a day because they got to scout. So they're hunting either morning, afternoon, and then they're scouting the rest of the day, the opposite amount of time. So I started getting a little heartache with that. I think that greed starts coming into play. That's where I kind of draw the line with siding with an outfitter. I really do. I think that greed starts coming in line when it becomes more than, hey, I have a right to guide and outfit and charge people to do this, which I 100% agree with. When it goes from that to, hey, I don't want you to come up here and do this because I don't want the competition and I want to be able to take all these guys out and charge guys $1,000 a day, $1,200 a day, whatever it is. And then they start trying to limit my rights on it. That's when I start having a problem. So you can take that same mindset and apply it across the country, right? So you do have outfitters that are leasing up a lot of ground all over the place, especially in areas where good flyways, all up and down the Mississippi Flyway, all up and down the Central Flyway, the Pacific Flyway, hell, even the Atlantic Flyway. Good land goes for a premium. You can't really blame the landowner either. I'm not really trying to point a finger at either one of them, especially in the States. It's the guy's right to make a living. It's the guy's right to make money on his land that cost him a lot of money. If he goes out and harvests his corn crop for the year in a dry field and he can lease it out to guys for thousands of dollars, that's basically for something that's just a waste to him, and they can come out and take hunters on it and have kill Canadian geese, kill mallards, kill widgeon, apply whatever birds you want to right there. That's his right. Why not? He paid for the land. He pays the taxes on the land. So this isn't an easy answer, guys. There's not an easy answer. I don't think you can sit here and point fingers at outfitters for trying to make a living. I don't think you can point fingers at landowners for, again, trying to make a living, trying to get by. We all know that everybody thinks these farmers get all these subsidies, and by all means they do, but farmers, I've never known just a completely rich farmer. None of them they always just work like crazy is all I ever see them do. So it's hard to really start blaming anybody. A couple little quick stats here. Back in 1970s, the early 70s, I think particularly it was 1971, there was over 2 million waterfowl hunters in the U.S. based on, I'm assuming, license sales, federal licensing, duck stamp license sales at the time. Last year, there were 1.26 million. So we're talking about 750,000 less waterfowl hunters. That's a lot. We're getting close to 50% down. 40% down, 38 something like that percent down. So when you start talking about those kind of drastic drops in waterfowl hunters, but back in those days they said that the waterfowl hunting was pretty decent. Of course, they went through the point system, and waterfowl hunting, it's always up and down, right? Most of it, which is driven by, and this has been proven over and over again, even though it's still a highly debated topic, waterfowl numbers are mostly driven by habitat, breeding habitat on the nesting grounds, from South Dakota to North Dakota, eastern Montana, all the way up into the prairies, all the way to Alaska. It's the boreal forest, all that. So habitat drives nesting success. Nesting success drives brood numbers. Brood numbers drives total waterfowl population for the fall flight. I mean, that's just simple. So where's the disconnect now? Like, why do we have almost half the amount of hunters as we did in the 70s, but everybody complains about the number of hunters? That's all you hear. A good friend of mine told me nobody hates to see another duck hunter more than another duck hunter. And when you really stop and think about that, that's sad, man. It is. I've been part of that for sure. When I go to places, I'm going to try to go somewhere where I'm not going to have to deal with a lot of folks. And I will say, with the internet, with Onyx, with social media, with all that, there's really no secrets left. I mean, you could name a state, Google it, and you'll find info on it sitting on your couch eating a bag of Cheetos. So you don't really have to put forth a ton of time and real effort. You can do it from the comfort of your pajamas sitting at the house. So where I'm kind of going with all this is, I don't know that there is a great answer for this. I truly don't. I think that we've got a lot of habitat loss, especially in the winter. Well, everywhere, but in the wintering grounds, surely. Think about how much more populated the United States is now than it was in the 70s. Think about all the places that you grew up hunting as a kid, or used to see deer as a kid, or ducks as a kid, or name your animal. And then now there's a shopping mall there, or now there's a neighborhood there, or a dentist office, or whatever. Something that has driven the animals out. The habitat loss is just terrible. It really is. I think the lack of quality public land is a big factor. for your everyday guy, right? Like, again, the guys that's got the money, they can afford to either pay an outfitter and go, or they can afford to, if they've got enough of it and really care, they can afford to make their own habitat. The number of impoundments now are crazy, which I don't mind, honestly. And I don't own one, so it's not like I have any skin in the game. But I know just an hour and a half up the road in a spot in South Carolina, you can look at some Google imagery maps from, I don't know, I think it goes all the way back to the early 2000s or 90s, and you can change it through the years, and the number of impoundments that have been built is crazy. That's duck habitat that was not there that is. So in that instance, we're actually growing habitat. Now, who does that help? Well, you can say it just helps the rich guys that own it, or the rich guys that get to hunt it. You could definitely say that. They're definitely benefiting more than anybody. I'd say it'd be hard to argue that fact. But it also brings more holding power to the area. So you get to a carrying capacity of any property, and the more birds that get imprinted on this area because there's good quality habitat, good quality food, the more birds that are theoretically going to come to this area. And as those birds get hunted, because they will, those birds are going to get off. It may only be for a day and they might go right back. It may only be for 2 hours and they might go right back. But that's more birds in the area ultimately could lead to more opportunities for you if you can get creative and don't mind the travel and the scouting and figuring out where these birds go and what they do when these guys hunt. So, and that's not just for that particular area. That's anywhere. That's anywhere. The habitat's a big part. The outfitters, yes, they are leasing up a ton of land. That's a big part. But the farmers have to pay for all this land, all this equipment, all this, everything in the world costs a lot of money, man. I mean, everyday life costs a lot of money. So these farmers are having to pay for all that too. So there's nobody to really just ultimately sit down and point the finger at. I think that waterfowl hunting is going to change like everything else has. I do fear that freelancing could be gone or I can't say gone, but will be diminished greatly in my lifetime. I feel like I'm seeing it happen before my eyes. Places that you used to could go knock on a door, you're not doing that anymore. It's leased. Everything's leased. It's leased. It's leased. I mean, who do you blame for that? Nobody. You know, there's nobody you can really sit down and point a finger at. I mean, you can't tell guys they can't make a living, and you can't tell guys that they can't make money off of their property if they own and pay the taxes on it. So it's a tough thing, man. It really is. When it comes to quality public land, unless you're fortunate enough to live in a flyway that has a lot of birds, unless you're lucky enough to live in an area that has some pristine natural public land, and there are some places in this country that have that, but unless you're in those areas, you're going to be SOL. I mean, you really are. Managing habitat for waterfowl is probably the most expensive habitat management that can be done. Invasive aquatic vegetation is expensive to control. Moving water is expensive to control. Water control structures are expensive to build and maintain. It's tough, man. I don't know. It's really, really tough. I wish that I had the answer for it. I wish somebody had the answer for it. I think that you're seeing a big decline in waterfowl hunter numbers. A lot of it is the change of how people live today. You know, a lot of people live inside their little concrete jungle bubble, and that's just what they do, and they don't get outside and don't care that much. And then you've also got guys that feel like they're priced out of it, or they go to their local swamp and there's 25 other trucks there that are all trying to shoot the same 6 wood ducks that are coming in, whatever. And people can say what they want. I'm going to say something unpopular right now. A lot of people say that hunting is not about shooting the bird. And while I do agree with that to a certain extent, Nobody is spending the money that waterfowl hunting takes to be successful on a regular basis, or spending the time and the effort to go out there and eventually not pull a trigger. Now, everybody has a bad day. Everybody has a bad week. Everybody has a bad season. But eventually, if you're going and you're going and you're going and you're just not getting any results, you'll go take up golf or find something better to do. I mean, why would you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock or sometimes earlier to go sit in a cold swamp to not see ducks, not shoot ducks? So if it solely wasn't about shooting the bird, we wouldn't take a shotgun, we'd take a camera. So I disagree with that statement a little bit, but I understand the sentiment behind it. We're just in this weird transition time in history with the population boom. I see it every day out by me. I mean, matter of fact, the place I shot my very first duck, I drove by it the other day. Used to be a big, beautiful hardwood bottom. It had a creek and a beaver pond down it. Now there's literally a neighborhood that comes up to within 75 feet of that little swamp that I used to hunt. And on this side, they have just cleaned the timber out to within probably 75 feet of that side of it, and it's going to be another neighborhood. So that little wood duck hole, I don't know who's hunted it the last 20 years, if anybody, but that little wood duck hole will never be legally hunted again. It may not even hold ducks anymore. It might be too much human activity around it for a wood duck to even want to be in there. So even if it's not direct habitat loss, like even if the swamp's still there, if you got people disturbing it and right on top of it, it may as well be habitat loss. I mean, duck may still go in there, but odds are, from what I saw, especially with the wood duck, as weary as they are, that swamp's probably toast, man. And there's no telling how long those wood ducks have been frequenting that little creek right there for however many years. I'm sure I'm not the only guy that's ever killed a duck in there, seen a duck in there in the last 200 years. And that's gone now. So, I mean, how do you stop that? I mean, you don't. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a sad thing, man. I feel like I'm kind of going around in circles on this podcast talking about this because I'm looking for an answer, I think, within myself, and I can't find one. I think that it's ever changing. I don't know where it's going to go from here. I'm sad to think about the opportunities that will be lost throughout my lifetime and beyond. A bunch have been lost before my time, and I think that that's always going to be the case. I do think that there's some great organizations out there. You've got your Ducks Unlimited, your Delta Waterfowl. You could plug any organization that's trying to conserve habitat, conservation for duck numbers, advocating for duck hunters, which is another thing that we all need to start taking very seriously. If you think it can't be taken away from us, you are mistaken. You really need to pay attention to the rest of the world. Take a dive into Australian duck hunting and the battle those guys down there have been fighting to be able to save their right to duck hunt. It's there's been podcasts done on it. There's a lot of articles out there by it. You can look all this stuff up. So it can come here. And always remember, if you don't have a monetary value on a bird, whatever it is, doesn't have to be a bird, but in this case, we're talking about ducks and geese. If they don't have a monetary value, then there's no need for organizations to save them or to try to save them, to try to conserve habitat, to try to build habitat. I think we need to do a lot less fighting if we can and try to all stick together. It'll never happen. I hate to say it, but I know that it won't. There's too many different egos and different thoughts, train of thoughts, I guess is what I'm trying to say out there. I think that greed is going to be a big downfall. Everybody's for me and what's mine. I think that as outfitting grows, I think you're going to see more and more outfitters that are going to have more and more land because people, their time is everything demands people's time, right? Life, wife, kids, your job, your career, other hobbies, other interests demand so much of your time that a lot of people, if they can pay an outfitter to take them on a good hunt or two a year, then that's all they really need. And it seems like outfitters are charging quite a bit of money, but of course their overhead's a lot too. I mean, a lot of these leases aren't cheap. They're really not. So I think you're going to see more and more land continue to get leased up. I think you're going to see a bigger gap between the have and the have-nots. Personally, I think your haves are going to be able to afford these hunts. They're going to be able to afford to build these impoundments. They're going to be able to afford to buy these big, beautiful hunting properties that are going for just astronomical amounts of money because they have the money and they can. If I had it, I'd buy them too. So I'm not hating them for it. I'm just telling you it's what it is. And then you've got the have-nots that don't have that kind of money, and they're left either having to foot the bill for an expensive outfitter or hunting subpar public land in most places. And you're going to have guys that are going to listen to this and go, oh, well, you just need to work harder, scout harder. Like, I get that, dude. Like, I get it. We've all been there, thumped our chest, done all that. Like, we get it. Not everybody has the time to go scout for 10, 15, 20 days or be gone for 10, 15, 20 days and scout for 4 or 5 days and do all this. I mean, good for you if you got the time to do it. Most people don't. Most people just don't have the time. Even if they had the drive to do it, would love to do it, they don't have the time to do it, man. Life is so demanding. It really is. So I think you're going to see a continuance of the decline in waterfowl hunters personally. It costs a lot to get into. The laws are, you need a college degree to understand all the waterfowl hunting laws. The expense of the shells are going up more and more every year. The expense of the gear going up more and more every year. And let's face it, guys, I think Pat Pitt told me nobody is at least in the United States, nobody's duck hunting a day for subsistence living. Like, he's not wrong. Nobody's subsistence living on hunting. I mean, hell, duck meat's probably the most expensive meat by pound for a bird you could buy. If you could buy it, and I know it's illegal to buy it, but if you could buy it, it'd be the most expensive meat per pound for sure, when you add up all the money and time it takes to go get it. So I think we're going to see that continue in decline, and I fear that in the future, as more and more of these states, I know Kansas did a pretty aggressive one, and I think that it got vetoed for now, so that's good if that happened. You got North Dakota put more and more restrictions on them. Obviously, South Dakota. I'm sure there's other states. I hadn't done my research on all the states, but it's a federally regulated bird. Nobody owns a duck, right? Most of these birds start in northern U.S. or Canada or further, all the way up to Alaska, boreal forest up there. Some of these birds end up in South America, man. I mean, not all of them, but some of these blue-winged teal, and they've, through banding and telemetry tracking, they've actually found some of these birds in northern South America for their wintering ground. So, Kansas, you don't own that blue-winged teal that comes through there in September. You just don't. No different than Canada. Canada, they don't know. We all own these birds, and we all need to put forth effort to try to save these birds. And in saying that, we all should be able to go wherever we want to go to be able to hunt these birds, as long as we're doing it in a legal manner and can get permission, and we're not hurting the resource. And what I mean by that is breaking laws. If the limit's 6 and we shoot 6, whatever, then what's the big deal? Most of these birds, other than mottled ducks and some of the wood ducks and some of the other, there's a handful of them that will stay where they're born or pretty close to where they're born. But the vast majority of waterfowl species are migrating, right? They're going from top to bottom and back. I don't know where the state of it's going. I really hope that we can find some sort of centered ground here on limiting these waterfowl hunters, whether it be Canada or the United States. If we need to limit them, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. If we need to limit the hunters to protect the resource, I'm all about it. If we're limiting the hunters to protect a certain group of individuals, then I think that's wrong. And I think a lot of times the waterfowl is just the pawn in this. And we're limiting hunter access to benefit a group of people and not the resource. And that's just my ultimate opinion on that topic. So guys, I know y'all have been listening to me ramble on. Sorry about that, but that is something that's kind of been weighing on my mind. And I just figured on this Sunday afternoon, I was in the shop doing a little work. I figured I would just get on here and ramble on about that. Maybe somebody will listen to it, agree with it. I'm sure somebody will listen to it and won't. But either way, it's just thoughts that I had that I wanted to get out. You've been listening to the Southern Flight Podcast, and we'll see y'all next time.